using any point for an incorrect answer. However, if a team gets a question incorrect, the question will be passed to their opponent without their opponent losing their track. You have 10 seconds in which to answer your questions. If you do so, the question will be passed to your opponent. And if you say pass, the question will be automatically passed to your opponent. Earlier on, we had the toss, Sturge showed one, and they opted for Lemper to go first. Lemper, we start with you. Which man became the second king of Israel? Question passes to Sturge Show, let it try. That's David. Still with you, Sturge Show. Who was David's father? Question passes to Glen, to let it try. That's Jesse. Still with you, Glen. Plants in a food chain or food web are referred to as what? That's incorrect. Person passes to Sturge Show. Let it try. That is correct. Still with you, Sturge Show. What do the arrows in a food chain show? That is? This is that's it. You have to speak up on the Sturge Show, right? Over to you, Glen. This is a visual. Look at the monitor and identify this country slab. That is correct. Over to you, Sturge Show. Also a visual. Look at the monitor and identify this country slab. That is correct. Glen, spell forensics. Spell forensics. 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 That is correct. Let's speak up, all right? Over to you, Sturge Show. Spell flamboyant. That is correct. Over to you, Glen. This is a visual. Look at the monitor and identify this person. That's incorrect. Question passes to Sturge Show. Let me try. That's the vase. Still with you, Sturge Show. Also visual. Look at the monitor and identify this person. Question passes to Glen. Let me try. That is correct. Minister of Agriculture. Still with you, Glen. Which is the second largest ocean? That's incorrect. Question passes to Sturge Show. Let it try. That's also incorrect. It's the Atlantic Ocean. Still with you, Sturge Show. On which continent is the Nile River found? That is correct. Glen, which instrument is used to measure the amount of rainfall in an area? That is correct. Sturge Show. Which instrument is used to measure heat in the atmosphere? That is correct. Glen, which type of lens forms an upside down image? Not hear you. That is correct. Sturge Show. What is the name of the hole in the eye through which light passes? That is correct. Glen, Mark, what is 4391 rounded to the nearest 100. That is correct. Search down. Mark. Round 2891 to the nearest 1,000. That is correct. Glen, complete the following proverb. If you can't catch quacker, that is correct. Search down. Complete the following proverb. Chicken Mary. Question passes to Glen Prep. To the left side. That is correct. Still with you, Glen Prep. What is the capital of Tobago? Question passes to Sturge down. Left side. That's incorrect. It's Carol. Still with you, Sturge down. What is the capital of Nevis? Question passes to Glen Prep. To the left side. That's Charlestown. Still with you, Glen Prep. What name is given to the smooth, tough, flexible material between bones? That's incorrect. Question passes to Sturge down. Left side. That is correct. Still with you, Sturge down. What name is given to joints that allow a turning motion? That is incorrect. Question passes to Glen Prep. Would you like to try? Right? That is correct. Still with you, Glen Prep. What was the maiden name of Lady Bustamante? Question passes to Sturge down. Let's try. That's Longbridge. Still with you, Sturge down, and this is the final question of the first section. What was Enda Manley's maiden name? Question passes to Glen Prep. Would you like to try? That's Swittenbank. And with that brings us to the end of the first section. We will check these scores and be right back for the speed challenge. Welcome back to the third case here. Third show primary and Glen in the Northern State and Primary School quiz competition. Where you can score that and for question, there's some adjustments. For question show, one is to get the joints that allow a further motion. One on the topic is incorrect. So with that being said, at the end of the first round, the score out. First round primary on 10, then first on 10. We are moving to the speed challenge. This section, in 3 minutes, answer as many questions as possible. If you don't know the answer, you have to divide them. We want the question to be repeated as a neutral and a conditional. 3 minutes will start after the first question. We'll start again with the answer. Therefore, we start with math. What is the sum of $3.12, $1.72, and $9.49? That is correct. Science, which structure in the eye bends light rays? That is, I have letters. Language arts. Identify the adjective in the sentence. The man was very cautious when entering the building. That is correct. Social studies. When it is spring in the northern hemisphere, what season is it in the southern hemisphere? That is correct. Math. What is 56.67 divided by 1,000? That is correct. Science, what is referred to as a measure of the pull of gravity? Weight. Language arts. Complete the proverb. Early bird. Judges. Which Jamaican national leader was involved in the 1938 riot? That is correct. Mark, the diameter of a circle is 14 centimeters. What is the circumference? Where pi is 22/7. That is correct. Science, what is organic matter and decaying plants and animals in soil oil? That's humus. Spelled scientific. That is correct. Social studies. What is the second largest island in the Caribbean? That is correct. Mark, what is 15% of 300? That is correct. Conjunctivitis affects what body part? That is correct. Language arts. Identify the conjunction. No time for that one. That is the end of your 3 minutes. Well, we now move over to Showdown for your 3 minutes. Showdown, your 3 minutes will start after the first question, and we will start with math. What is the sum of $6.98, $1.23, and $3.21? That is correct. Science, which structure connects the eye to the brain? That's optic nerve. Language arts, identify the adjective. What is your favorite ice cream? That is correct. Social studies. When it is summer in the northern hemisphere, what season is it in the southern hemisphere? That is correct. That's 9.6. Science, what is referred to as the push or pull of an object? That is correct. Language, complete the proverb. Every cloud have a silver lining. Social studies, which Jamaican national hero was famous for the saying, one aim, one God, one destiny? That is correct. Mark, the diameter of a circle is 14 centimeters. What is its area using pi as 22/7? The diameter of a circle is 14 centimeters. What is its area using pi 22/7? That's 154 centimeters squared. Spell ambiguity. That is correct. Which is the largest Caribbean island? That is correct. Mark, what is 80% of 200? That is correct. Science, melanoma is a disease which affects which organ of the body? That's incorrect. It's the skin. Identify the conjunction. Place the letter where the postman can see it. Identify the conjunction. Place the letter where the postman can see it. No time for that one. The answer is with. And that is the end of your 3 minutes search show and the end of the challenge. Check these scores and be right back for the exciting. Questions will be open to both teams. First person in the buzzer and waiting to be identified will be given the opportunity to answer. If you answer correctly, you will gain 2 points. If you answer incorrectly, you will lose 2 points. If you answer before you have been identified, you will also lose 2 points. You have 10 seconds in which to answer after you have been identified. Fail to do so, you will lose 2 points. Right, teams? And this session lasts for 5 minutes. We're just going to do a quick buzzer check before we start this round. Starting with Glen. Awesome. Search down. Awesome. So with that, let's have 5 minutes on the clock. The clock will start after I read the first question. What scientific name is given to the release from cells of carbon dioxide into the blood of animals and into the atmosphere from plants? Time, that's respiration. Teams, this is a visual look at the monitor and identify this cartoon character. Glen breath. That is correct. Mark, what is the cost of 5 bulbs if one costs $12.50? Search down. That's incorrect. It's $62.50. How many adult teeth does a normal human adult have? Search down. That is correct. Complete the proverb. Too many cooks. Search down. That is correct. What geometric shape is generally used for stop signs? Glen. That is incorrect. It's the octagon. What is the white part of an egg called? Search down. That's incorrect. Now we're looking for argument. Who was the leader of the Morant Rebellion? Glen. That is correct. What is the place value of the 4 in 14.5? Glen. That's incorrect. It's ones. What are rocks made of? That's minerals. Correct the error. There is 3 books on the table. Glen. That is correct. Teams, this is a visual look at the monitor and identify this person. Glen. That is correct. What is the range of the numbers 12, 18, 25, 30, and 50? Search out. That is correct. What name is given to diseases caused by air pollution? Search out. That is correct. Spell tyranny. Search out. T-Y-R-A-N-Y. That's incorrect. It's T-Y-R-A-N-N-Y. To which group of instruments does the harp belong? Glen. That is correct. Which continent is referred to as the outback? Search out. Australia. That is correct. Who is the Minister of Tourism? Glen. That is correct. Mark, what is the LCM of 4 and 6? Search out. 12. That is correct. What is the name of the device used to measure electrical current? Time, that's the amp meter. Who were the sisters of Lazarus? Time, that's Mary and Martha. Complete the analogy. Wolf is the hound as horse is to Glen. Which Jamaican town was the capital of Trelawney before Falmouth? Time, that's March. What is the scientific name given to the process by which food is broken down into smaller particles in order to be removed from the body? Get correct? That is correct. Which Jamaican town has a new... Oh, that is the end of the buzzer challenge and the end of the match. We will now check these scores and be right back with the final score. Go back to the place playoff with the Northwest and Conway State Group competition between Legal Club and Sturge Primary. Just some adjustments for the final score. For the first club, what is the right part of the head card, head shot, is what is the right It's accepted. So with that being said, at the end of the match, the scores are Sturge Primary on 28 and the Legal Club on 20. I want to talk about the powers and playtime. Thank you, ladies. In fact, your champion still in this inaugural state and primary school quiz competition is Sturge.
Miss. You're supposed to have something like this, where you can add the scores and minus the scores.
For three sections, the alternative, the speed, and the buzzer challenge. In the alternative section, questions will be asked alternatively to both teams, gaining 1 point for every correct answer, not losing any point for the incorrect answer. However, if you get the question incorrect, the question will pass to your opponent. If you say pass, the question will be automatically passed to your opponent. You have 10 seconds in which to answer. Fail to do so, the question will be passed to your opponent. Earlier on, we had a so with that, we will start with discovery. By knowledge, what is the search? Question passes to Babu. That is correct. Still with you, Babu. By knowledge, which disciple doubted the resurrection of Jesus? That is incorrect. Question passes to discovery. Will that try? That's Thomas. Still with you, discovery. During photosynthesis, energy from the sun converts carbon dioxide and water into what? Vapor. It's discovery. Okay. That is incorrect. Question passes to Babu. That is right. That is incorrect. It's glucose. Still with you, Babu. In which part of the plant does photosynthesis take place? The leaves. That is correct. Over to you, discovery. This is a visual sports. Look at the monitor and identify this person. Question passes to Bamboo, like try. That is correct. Stay with you, Bamboo. Also visual, sports, look at the monitor and identify this person. That is correct. Over to you, Discovery. Spell predicament. That is correct. Bamboo, spell parliament. That is correct. Discovery. Complete the simile and speak as a. Question passes to Bamboo, let me try. That's incorrect. I speak as a filler. Still with you, Bamboo. Complete the simile as please as. That's not what we're looking for. Question passes to Discovery, let me try. Punch. You're looking for as please as punch. Still with you, Discovery. What is the smallest planet in the solar system? Mercury came first, which is correct. Over to you, Bamboo. What is the largest planet in the solar system? Jupiter. That is correct. Discovery. What is the capital of the Dominican Republic? That is correct. Bamboo. What is the capital of Dominica? That is correct. Discovery. Give the name of the instrument that a conductor uses when directing an orchestra. That's incorrect. Question passes to Bamboo. That is correct. Still with you, Bamboo. What is the lowest male singing voice? That's incorrect. Question passes to Discovery. Let me try. That's bass. Still with you, Discovery. Mark, what is the sum of 0.725, 825, and 72.5? That is incorrect. Question passes to Bamboo. Like a try. That is correct. Still with you, Bamboo. Matt, what is the sum of 8.25, 0.825, and 92.5? Can you hear that?
Repeat that for me.
That is incorrect. Question passes to Discovery. Would like to try? That is correct. Still with you, Discovery. This is a visual look at the monitor and identify this word leader. Right? We'll skip the visual. Still with you, Discovery. Who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in Jamaica? That is correct. Over to you, Bamboo. Who is the Minister of Justice? That is correct. Bamboo, sorry, Mr. Ray, what system helps you breathe? That is correct. Bamboo, what system includes the heart and blood? That is correct. Mr. Ray, what does the acronym FIFA stand for? That's incorrect. Question passes to Bamboo. That's also incorrect. It's Federation the International Football Association. Still with you, Bamboo. What does the acronym ICC stand for? That is incorrect. Question passes to this committee. Would you like to try? That is correct. And that is the end of the first round. We will check the scores back for the speed challenge. state and primary school quiz competition between Discovery Primary and Bamboo Primary. Just some adjustments before we give you the score at the end of this lecture. The Bamboo, which decided doubted the resurrection of Jesus, Dimas is running in fourth place, which is acceptable. So with that, at the end of the first round, the scores are Bamboo Primary on 12 and Discovery Primary on 7. We now move into the speed challenge in this section. Teams will be given 3 minutes to answer as many questions as possible, gaining 1 point for the correct answer. Teams, if you don't know the answer, say pass and move right along. If you want the question to be repeated, I can do so. However, additional time will not be allowed. And again, we will start with Discovery. Let's have 3 minutes on the clock. The clock will start after I read the first question. The teams, please speak up, all right? What is 2/3 of $120? That is correct. Which of the following plants does not produce flowers? Mango, fern, coconut. That is correct. Correct the error in the sentence by changing one word. I took an alternate route to avoid traffic. Alternative. Who was the Governor General in 1975? Sir Florizel Glassford. Jane was 15 years, 8 years ago. How old will she be in 7 years' time? That is correct. What name is given to animals that feed on both plants and animals? That is correct. Former noun from receipt. Receiver. Which of the following countries is not in the Leeward Islands? St. Kitts, Cuba, Montserrat. That is correct. A car is traveling 60 kilometers per hour. How far will it travel in 30 minutes at the same rate? That is correct. Which rock is used to make roofing tiles? Slate. What is a past participle of am? That's incorrect. It's being. Which courthouse is associated with Port Noble? Morant Bay. What is the next prime number after 83? That's incorrect. It's 89. What is the main salt type that has very fine particles? That is correct. Give an 8-letter word starting with C that means to be at fault. Couple. Which planet is called the morning star? That is correct. 5 men took 15 days to dig a hole. How long will it take 25 men working at the same rate? That's incorrect. It's looking for 3 days. Which force is used to unscrew a light bulb? That is correct. Complete the proverb. Haste makes. That is correct. In which county will you find the town of Fort Maria? That is correct. What do we call a shape with 2 parallel circular bases and 1 curved surface? That is correct. Form an adjective from the word grace. That is correct. Which blood vessel carries blood away from the heart? What type of landform is the Blue Mountains in Jamaica? That is correct. What is the term for a figure that has no lines of symmetry? No, and you answered that one, but that would have been correct. Well done for your 3 minutes. It's covered. We now move over to Bamboo for their 3 minutes. Bamboo, the clock will start after I read the first question. Let's have 3 minutes on the clock. What is 1/5 of $140? That's incorrect. It's $28. Which of the following plants have a fibrous root system? Is it palm, ackee, or carrot?
Carrot.
Judges, not sure what came first. Correct error by removing one unnecessary word. The team advanced forward to the next round. The team advanced to the next round. Who was the Governor General in 2008? Sir Kenneth Hall. Paul was 19 years old 6 years ago. How old will he be 9 years' time? Did you hear that? Judges, I have 34. What type of rock is used to make cement? Limestone. Form a noun from precise. Judges, which of the following is not part of the Greater Antilles? Jamaica, Barbados, Puerto Rico. That is correct. A car is traveling at 40 kilometers per hour. How far will it travel in 45 minutes, traveling at the same rate? 30 kilometers. What is the preserved remains of animals called? That is correct. What is the past tense of draw? Judges, which national hero would you associate with the Christmas Rebellion in 1831? That is correct. What is the next prime number after 71? That is correct. What are the three main types of soil? That is correct. Give an eight-letter word starting with S that means malicious. That's incorrect. Spiteful. Which planet is called the blue planet? That is correct. It took 30 days for 8 women to complete the task. Working at the same rate, how long will it take 21 women to complete the same task? 12 days. What force is used to peel a banana? That is correct. Complete the proverb. Want all? That is correct. In which country would you find Balaclava? That is correct. Which shape is formed when a rectangle is rotated on one of its sides? Cylinder. What is the term for a distinctive sound made by a donkey? That is correct. Arrange these in the correct order for the water cycle: condensation, precipitation, evaporation. That is correct. What Christian celebration marks the birth of Jesus Christ? Correct. How many lines of symmetry does a circle have? That is correct. And identify the proposition: the cat is under the table. That is correct. What happens when water vapor cools in the atmosphere? That is correct. No time for that. Very well done for your 3 minutes. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of the speed challenge. We'll check these scores and be right back for the exciting weather challenge.
Just letting everyone know that those scores are not the correct scores. It's just we are working on the real time score update. So those scores are nowhere near the correct score. We'll soon tell you the correct score. This is just like a test to make sure that we get it right.
We now move into the buzzer challenge. In this section, questions will be thrown open to both teams. First person in the buzzer and waiting to be identified will be given the opportunity to answer. If you answer correctly, you will gain 2 points. If you answer incorrectly, you will lose 2 points. If you answer before you have been identified, you will lose 2 points. You have 10 seconds in which to answer. After you have been identified, fail to do so, you will lose 2 points. This section lasts for 5 minutes. Let's have 5 minutes on the clock.
Score. I know it's a score.
Score 21, 29, 21, 29.
Move on 21.
This over here 21 and then double 29.
Minutes on the clock.
So you just
Teams.
click on
Right?
We're going to check the buzzers just before we start. The last step. Target bamboo. Sorry. Awesome.
So here is minus
Oh, so
2.
plus. Okay, so just add with
This is bamboo there.
Teams, look at the monitor. This is a visual. Look at the monitor and identify the person and the constituency the person represents. Bamboo. That is correct. Who is the first Jamaican to win it in bamboo? An individual Olympic gold medal. That is correct. Which angel is called the archangel? Bamboo. Judges. What scientific term is used to describe the body's movement from place to place? Bamboo.
Motion.
Judges, I have locomotion. What is meant by the expression on the rocks? Bamboo? That's incorrect. It's secret. If not your fingers, what will you use to pick the strings of a guitar? Bamboo? Looking for a pick. Teams is going to look at the monitor and identify the script. Email? That is correct. What number multiplied by itself gives 300 bamboo?
80.
Gives 361, looking for 19. What is the distinctive sound made by a word? Email? That is correct. Carbon dioxide and water is excreted from which organ? Bamboo? That is correct. Complete the proverb. Fair exchange. Bamboo?
Is no robbery.
That is correct. The breaking of the piñata is part of which next? Bamboo?
Birthday.
That's incorrect. A part of which Mexican celebration? Christmas. Mark, if I use $20 to pay for a book that costs $11.19. Bamboo? What would be my change? That is correct. Who is the Minister of Economic Growth? Bamboo? That's incorrect. Who is the Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation? Matthew Samuda. Which part of the human eye contains blood vessels to supply the retina? Time. What did Jesus use to feed 5 cup bamboo?
5 loaves of bread. 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish.
That is correct. What is the British English spelling for the word pneumonia? Discover me. That is correct. Mark, what is the square root of 25 plus the square root of 60? Bamboo? That is correct. In which American state would you find the Statue of Liberty? Bamboo?
New York.
That is correct. Who is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education? Bamboo?
True. Yes, and true.
That is correct. How many feet are in a yard? Bamboo? That is incorrect. Looking for 3 feet. What does the acronym JUTC stand for? Discovery Day? That's incorrect. It's the Jamaica Urban Transit Company. Mark, a school has 120 boys and 80 girls. What is the ratio of boys to girls? Bamboo? Read that for me.
4 to 6.
That is incorrect. It's 3 to 2. What is an antonym for brave? Bamboo? That's incorrect. Looking for cowardly. If 1 picture equals 5 students, how many students does 3 pictures represent? Bamboo?
15.
That is correct. Give the British spelling for the word tranquility. Discovery Day. That is incorrect. That's the American spelling. It's Tranquillity. What does the acronym CXC stand for? Bamboo?
Top most two times.
That is correct. A car is sold for $10,000 with a 5% sales tax. How much is the total cost? Bamboo? Repeat that for me. That is correct. No time for that, and that brings us to the end of the buzzer challenge and the end of the match. We are going to get these scores and
Can pull on your camera. Your one. Yeah.
welcome back to the grand finale of the
to some Penn schools. They report that they have been to Island areas over the years. I was privileged to look at and listen to the question, and I felt good in the sense that we have helping children who can relate, who can discuss, and who can represent. It's a result of your health, and your health is important. It's a result of your diet, and your diet is important. Island area, Jamaica's best company. We have provided good quality products for our children and also the adults also. But I can promise that going forward, we'll be bringing out some new affordable products to help the growth of our boys and girls. Better skin tone, better teeth, better bone. The product will be available in short order, and some of the schools that we have not yet supplied, we will be on board next term. So I really want to thank you again for the support and for inviting us at short notice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vince. Just a quick question to the audience. Who know the Islanders song? No? Islanders is Jamaica's best. North, south, east, and west. You know that? You know it? You don't know it? Islanders is the very best. Islanders is the very best. North, south, east, and west. Yeah, we set up the west, yes. But growing up, Mr. Vince, and watching TV, and even RFM, actually, because most of the persons in this area listen to RFM, you always hearing about island areas. All right? So thank you so much, Mr. Vince. With that being said, at this time, I'm going to now invite our regional director from the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information from the Trailblazing Region, Region 3, Ms. Kylie Sigrid.
I feel like I just passed my pep. All right, let me greet our Member of Parliament, Miss Krista Lee, and the mastermind behind this quiz competition. Thank you, Ms. Lee, for your investment in education. Could you please put your hands when you have a member of parliament who invests in education, who invests in your life, you know that you're on the right track. Thank you, MP Lee. Yes. Let me also greet Councillor Carlton Ricketts, a very hard-working councillor, and he said, of course, Miss Lee, and of course, one of the schools in his division, no, two of the schools, Glen and Discovery Primary School. I wish to also greet, I must say to Mr. Binns, like every event I go, Mr. Binns is there. All the events, Mr. Binns is there. Mr. Binns is always there to give back, to give out, to share. And I really want to acknowledge you, Mr. Binns, the face of Island Dairy, and of course, the nutritional intake of our students. You know, that's very important. Without good nutrition, then our students, their brains don't develop as it should, and their bodies. And so I'm happy to hear about the new products. And you talk about products related with the skin. I'm interested in those products myself. Let me greet our principals who are here this morning. Right. The principals are here to support you. Please thank principals. Very good. The principals are here with you, pushing you and just encouraging. We have two principals over here, not from the school, you see. In the back, we see a principal from Clarksonville, principal from Bethany Primary School. So they are the kids to support and to celebrate with you. And of course, our teachers, our workforces. Yes, they ensure that our students are ready for competitions like this. Can we put our hands together for hard-working teachers? I want to say, I was in a press conference this morning, MP, and one of the questions that was asked of the Minister of Education is, what are the plans for the teacher migration issues? And she really gave a good response. But I also want to say, I want to really acknowledge those teachers who decided to stay with us. They didn't matter what would have caused other teachers to leave. People have reasons why they leave, it's okay. But those of you who decided to stick it out with us, despite whatever it is, you are here and you are making a difference. And I really want to acknowledge and applaud you. Yes. I know you have some parents here, and I want to also acknowledge them. And then you have the big team from the Social Development Commission right there. Can you please stand? Miss Mark, Miss Sarah, and Glen. Why you not standing the senior? And Glen, his voice. I thought you were on TVJ. TVJ quiz. Very good job, and thank you so much, SBC, for partnering, for looking out, for taking control. And boy, we have shown the rest of Jamaica that a quiz can be run in a month. Yes, because sometimes we think we need more time, but just do it. Just get it done. Yes, and it's done, and I'm happy. I must acknowledge my education officer, Mr. Thomas, who when I came, I thought he was going to be UC. Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. And to the church here, I saw Pastor earlier, and the rest of the church members, greetings. But of course, those of whom we love, those of whom we cherish, our students. Students, stand. Wonderful job you've done. Thank you so much. I want to really acknowledge the 4 teams: Bamboo Primary School, Sturge Primary School, Discovery Primary School, and Glen Prep. You made it to the finals. Perseverance, consistency, and discipline. 3 cornerstones of excellence. You made it. Today is a remarkable day. It is. I was wondering if you specially selected this day because you knew that the PEP results would be released, because there is so much to celebrate. Because on both teams, our winning team, which Bamboo Primary School, your students did so well in their PEP. Our school that came second Discovery Bay, your students did so well in PEP. You're so well in school. Your students did so well in PEP. It warms my heart. I have the chance to look at all the games as yet. Mrs. Henry, I will look at Keith as well, right? But I really want to pick up the 4 schools that are here. This morning in the press conference, the minister also reported that of the number of schools that were on the critical list, the NSLIP critical list, about 10 of our schools or so moved out of the critical list. And guess what? 2 of them belong to Region 3. Primary and Philadelphia Primary School. So there is really a lot to celebrate today. And I really want to just say to MP, with a quiz competition, it really enhances learning and academic performance. It really reinforces knowledge and encourages curiosity. Helps our students to work as a team and help them to develop confidence. And that is what we want in our students, confidence. They're going to high school, right here, most of them in this region. And we want them to go confidently. We want them to feel good about themselves. We want them to always be targeted and focused on what they're going on. Just like this MP, we have enabled the development that we need students. You will enable fostering and so let us students put your hands together, thanks for your time. And although we applaud from the primary for being this morning's winner, and boy did they shine. Boy did they shine. Put your hands together. And so we call you, Mrs. Paul Henry, yes, and Mr. Shana, and guess what? I thought both of them in college. So I think it's encouraged, yes. So very good job. Good job, well done. We applaud you, and to all the other schools, whether you came second or third or fourth, you are a winner. Thank you, God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Ms. Degree, our Regional Director from the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Regional State. So with that, stepping down the greetings, I'll now invite Mrs. Rochelle Henry, co-chair of QEC 26 and principal of Primary.
The Master of Ceremonies, Member of Parliament, Mr. Lee, Councillor Carlton Rickett, Original Director, Ms. Collins Degree, out of Region 3, Ms. Hilary McMain, Parish Manager, SDC, Education Officer, Principals, staff at SDC, teachers, students, good afternoon. The Quality Education Circle, QEC 26, celebrates in this inaugural milestone of the staging of the first Northwest St. Anne Quiz Competition. QEC 26 celebrates that this competition was a bridge that provided a crossing over for our teens and preteens in preparation to the other side of secondary education. We wish to congratulate the schools and coaches in this QEC, and we are grateful for the active insight displayed by the Member of Parliament, Ms. Crystal Lee, members of the Social Development Commission and Region 3 of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, represented by the convener of QEC 26, Mr. Romain Thomas. So, on behalf of the executive arm and principals of QEC 26, we tender our profoundest congratulations to Sturge Primary and Glen Prep, to Bamboo Primary and Discovery Bay College for achieving such an experiential feat that is taking you to greater heights in education. I look forward to seeing you all on School Challenge Quiz at your respective high schools. QEC 36 is ready for next year. Congratulations, Bamboo Primary.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Henry. At this time, I'll now invite the parish manager for SBC St. Anne, Mrs. Hillary McNeil, to bring this with her work.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm hungry, right? Yeah. No, me too. What time? Let us give it a little body. Howdy, howdy, howdy. All right, it's really a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon, sharing with you, taking greetings on behalf of the Social Development Commission to this wonderful initiative and spearheaded by our longitudinous, yes, Crystal Lee. The word just means beautiful, very beautiful, yes. So, I'm observing the protocols that have already been established. And on behalf of the SBC, I take very warm greetings to all the participants, the educators, the partners, the organizers, and supporters gathered here today. The Social Development Commission is excited and proud to have partnered with MP Crystal Lee, our main sponsor, and the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Region 3, QEC26, among other partners, to stage this glorious and memorable display of educational development, excellence, where brilliance collided with knowledge. And we would have seen that throughout the progress of this competition. Participants, I greet you. This competition spanned 6 long weeks, but I must commend your dedication, your passion, and camaraderie, which underscored the spirit of competition. I must also say that your tenacity demonstrated the joy of intellectual engagement throughout this battle of wits. I also greet our wonderful and supportive audience, who always made the participants feel supported. I'm quite sure that the questions posed to the teams unleashed questions and even the answers given sparked some amount of applauses, and in your mind you were very much engaged giving answers to these questions as well. I want to greet our teachers, our principals, and even those 2 principals that are here in support, Mr. Mack from Bethany and Clarksonville. We want to thank you so much. I guess you're still excited from your experience over there in Southwest. So you have joined us today, and the sitting principals who are here, those who did not come today, I just want to say that we are appreciative of the support, the dedication, the hard work in preparing our students for this quiz competition. Your support is invaluable. It is clear to us that your chartered path of educating and preparing tomorrow's leaders remain your focus. And we thank you wholeheartedly for your weathering the storms as they would have come your way. Parents, I greet you. We appreciate your partnership in helping our students here to achieve their full potential. Your support and your enthusiasm have helped to motivate our students to learn and grow. Now, when I consider the SBC's mission, which is to facilitate the empowerment of citizens in communities, enabling their participation in integrated, equitable, sustainable national development process, I am extremely pleased that the SBC's mission and the goal of the Northwest Primary School Quiz Competition are in sync. The participants have benefited immensely, as evidenced by a clash of knowledge and celebration of learning. The final scores displayed by Bamboo Primary and the Discovery Day underscores this testament. And so, pause here with me as I take time out to highlight an appreciation of the significant impact of this competition and to also mention the outstanding contributions and efforts of Team SPC. Your collective efforts in planning, organizing, and implementing this competition shows your dedication, attention to details, and a passion for fueling community development throughout this competition. And it has set a new standard of excellence. And I am proud of the work that has been done here in Northwest and what was done in Southwest. And I'm truly proud to lead such a talented and driven team. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to acknowledge our stakeholders, every Crystal Lee or May sponsor. Your involvement, both tangibly and physically, has raised the bar for educational excellence. The SDC applauds your efforts to grow and sustain educational brilliance. We thank you for that. The Minister of Education, we have our Regional Director, Mr. Green, we have the co-chair, Ms. Rochelle Henry, and also Mr. Romain Thomas, who has been supportive of this initiative, and we applaud the efforts that you continue to make in marking out the pathway of tomorrow's leaders. We really are grateful. We want to thank the Salient Baptist Church, Cardiff Hotel and Spa, Puerto Rico Beach, Bahia Principe, Universal Service Fund, and Island Berries. Your contributions have made today a meaningful day for us. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, distinguished ladies in the audience, you have witnessed the stunning performance of tomorrow's innovators, and I am very excited with reassuring confidence that our future generation is on a path of budding beacons, of innovation and creativity. So please, let us support them in their efforts so that Jamaica will be further advanced on the world stage, because we have doing well in that regard. So please, let us raise an appreciation of applause for the achievement of the finalists and all those who would have participated, by extension our winners. Congratulations to Bamboo Primary, Discovery Primary, Sturge Primary, and Glen.
Thank you so much, Mrs. McLean. We're going down the order. And Ms. McLean would have started the trend. So let me just continue the trend in terms of acknowledging our partners for this, the Northwest State and Primary School Quiz Competition. Our media, Infomedia, now Mr. Brown, the Cardiff Hotel and Spa, the Bethany Primary School, Puerto Rico Beach, Bahia Principe Hotel and Resort, Universal Service Fund, the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, the Brownstown High School, Woolies Landscaping, Island Areas Limited, Member of Parliament Crystal Lee, and the Social Development Commission, building communities, building Jamaica, and especially QEC 26 from the Ministry of Education in Region 3. At this time, taking that forward, I now invite our dear sponsor, the great, the lovely Member of Parliament Crystal Lee.
Thank you, Quiz Master, and also Master of Ceremonies. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. He has done such an exceptional job in being Quiz Master throughout this competition. He also hosted, was Quiz Master for the Southwest Quiz Competition. Allow me to extend acknowledgement to our Regional Director for Ministry of Education, Ms. Carleen Sigree. I've never seen Ms. Sigree so bubbly. You know what it says to me? It means she's extremely proud of the test results. I'm just hearing how she mentioned mentioned that we had schools that were, I would say, in my layman terms, below standards. They are now out of that zone. By the way, I'm also a proud product of the Region 3 of Trailblazers. So, not because we member of Parliament disagree, I'm extremely happy to see that your region, particularly Central Northwest, where schools are doing exceptionally well, for principals, for teachers, for students are doing exceptionally well. Along with the also acknowledge all our principals here with us, both visiting from the other constituency and here. Our manager for the Social Development Commission is Hilary McBain, Mr. Livingston Beans, one of our sponsors from Island Dairy. Also, the hard-working team from the Social Development Commission. Man, I want to tell you something. You know, I mean, whereas I brought, you know, most of the gifts and so on, being a major sponsor, the work and the heavy lifting was mainly done by the Social Development Commission. I don't know about today. I want you to acknowledge you, Mr. Green, you have a very hard working. Yes, Mr. Tom, education officer. He was at one point, and we said, we were like, how can we get this quiz done before graduation? He never said no. Miss Nassim Lawrence, as the SDC officer on the ground, didn't say no. Nobody from SDC, Miss Edwards, everybody put their shoulder to the wheels and said, it can happen, it must happen. And of course, we have in our midst today our counselor from the Dry Harbor Division, Mr. Carlton. He's very, very proud of his schools as well. He was saying, he whispered in my ears, boy, that bamboo man. But it's not a big deal, that's true. He's extremely proud of his team. We are proud of all 16 schools that have participated in this competition. All 16 schools. Round of applause, please. What this shows me, given that Bamboo Primary now has arose as a champion for this competition, is that when you practice, when you are quizzing, when you engage, when you build your confidence, when you learn, right, in fun, and you broaden your knowledge base through these competitions, the sky's the limit. Because guess what? In all honesty, we know that Bamboo Primary School is the most experienced quizzers within the primary schools within the constituency. They would have entered the junior schools challenge quiz for many years and have made us proud. I think they went to quarterfinals, it was? Previous, right. Quarterfinals before in the island-wide junior school challenge quiz. So I just want us, the other students that are here, to look at the students at Bamboo Primary and just look at it as a positive sign. That is the first year we're doing this, but if you continue to practice, put your mind to it, put your heart to it, you know, your teachers and your coaches working together collectively, you can be just as good and even better as Bamboo Project than Bamboo, right? Right, Sturge? I will say no. But you're all our shining stars. And what it shows is that hard work will never go in vain. If you want good, it goes up around, and also you know hard work is true joy. So Bamboo being experienced in the quizzing, we expect that next year when we have this competition, it's only going to be more competitive, bigger and better. So we're going to ask our coaches and our teachers, once school resumes September, let us not wait, let us get our teams trained up. I don't know if the SDC suggests that we keep the quiz the same time, or do we do it as earlier next year. I believe earlier would be best. So we're going to ask our schools to get their quizzes ready when we enter for the second year. I also want to say to the winning team in Southwest Santana, I see the principal here, Bethany, that we would love a playoff or Bamboo Primary. Quiz champions are. So Mr. Bethany, you bring it to us right there. We would really appreciate that much. I'm going to ask the SDC to please reach out and let us coordinate that much. I don't know. It's going to happen. That's great. Oh, yeah, first and second. Yes, that would be really good, and it will be interesting as we continue to build and the confidence level, the engagement, and the knowledge base of our students. So I just want to say that this competition has been a very lively one, a very engaging one, and a fun one for our students. And we hope that whatever prizes that we offer today, right, they will be well appreciated. And we want to thank all the sponsors who assisted in making them possible. Universal Service Fund, Bahia Principe, Puerto Rico Beach, we have Island Berries that's here as well. We have, of course, QEC 23, we have Cardiff Hotel, all the various sponsors, the Ministry of Education. We thank you so much for all the work that you have done. The Social Development Commission works very hard. I know they just came out of their cricket season. While they were doing cricket, they were balancing the quiz, they're balancing meetings, they're balancing several activities. And I'm proud of the SDC Center team, because there's never a time when we call upon them to say we would like to get these activities done and they shy away. They always try to make it happen, even when you're short on officers. And I must say that I acknowledge this McLean team that you're even out short on officers. I know you're working to fix in short order, but we appreciate the extra effort that your officers have put in to get the job done and done well. So I want to say congratulations to all our quizzes, and for those of you who would have successfully completed your PEP exams, regardless of whichever school you pass for. Remember, it's not the school, it's where you can bloom wherever you are planted. Remember that. So it's your attitude that makes the difference. So not all of you may go to the school that you probably think that you want to, like probably a top school or York Castle or St. Hilda's or wherever it is. Right? No matter which school that you go to, please remember it is your attitude that makes the difference. All schools have very hard-working teachers. All schools have very, very well knowledgeable persons working with and what you say, educational syllabuses and so on. These are things that you just apply yourself. Apply yourself when you go there. And remember that you are all champions, right? Yes. Right, so you're going to go over into the secondary school while as your member of parliament and the ministry work together to ensure that we make the space a better place for you as we continue to grow and we work hard to push it to the next level. And we have the Minister of Education with us last week, it was a week before last, and she toured 6 schools. And we strategically picked those 6 schools because we know that it will help to push your educational level to the next level. There are different things at those institutions that needs to take place in which we are getting good support, including the build out of the new Minard STEM schools, which the entire design will built out will go to procurement by the end of July. So even that will be getting a new high school. So Discover Data is getting a space, right? Those students at Discover Data high schools will be able to transfer to that school, and so the primary school at Discover Data, you will get back a lovely school. So that's something that so we're more seriously to get that up and running. We have schools like St. Hilda's that, and York Castle, that and Brownstown High as well, that they are all lacking space right now because of the amount of students. We continue to grow. Right, and the Ministry of Education, she has committed that she will take up the mantle from the former minister and ensure that these schools get the built out that are necessary to have adequate space to take more students. We are looking forward to that, and this course alone right here in Runaway Bay. You see that there's a KC building up, 2 service stations. We're going to have at least 4 major hotels. Bahia is looking at expanding. There's Jewels building out right now from the Royal Company, where Jewels used to be. We have Secrets Hotel starting in Richmond in short order. Don't forget that we have Sugarcane Bay coming. Plus we have sandals that will be right here in Runaway as well. We're talking major development. And we know that, for example, as the stretch develops, both in tourism, both in housing, both in industry, because the service station and all of that, the road will also be expanded. right? So we are looking at that at the same time, as well as we're looking into our tower of Brownstown. That is the educational capital of the parish. We are looking to ensure that Brownstown gets the support that it needs to revamp the town to make it less hustling and congested. And we are working at solving all of those issues. So we are not just focused on ensuring that your road infrastructure and your water infrastructure is in place. We are also working with the Ministry of Education, the teachers, all our relevant agencies to ensure that our students are well educated. What is offered to them is the best. And we're continuing to work together to ensure that we develop our communities, develop Central and Northwestern to the best of our ability, and by extension, for a better Jamaica. So we thank you once again, all the team members, all the students, principal, teachers, our lovely, lovely stakeholders that made this possible, right? Thank you so much, and congratulations all. Have a blessed and a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that being said, from all our speakers, we are now going to be moving into the awards segment. But before we go into the awards, I think it's only fair to let you know what you have won, right? So, starting from fourth place, so the fourth place team today will be walking away with $20,000 courtesy of the Member of Parliament, $6,000 book vouchers for each student on the team, and a day pass to the Puerto Rico Beach. Third place will be receiving $30,000, $6,000 book voucher, and a day pass to Puerto Rico Beach. Second place will be getting $60,000, $10,000 book vouchers, and a day pass to Puerto Rico Beach. The winning school will be receiving $100,000, 6 tablets for the participating students, and 2 for the coaches, and $15,000 book vouchers, courtesy of the Member of Parliament. So at this time, we're going to be doing the awards. So earlier on, we had earlier on, the competition would have been segmented into 4 zones, and the 4 zones would have had their winners. Namely, from zone 4, the winner from zone 4 is Bamboo Primary. And I'm going to invite Ms. Pamela Edwards to make a presentation to Bamboo Primary. So I'm going to invite Bamboo Primary. So they're receiving their trophy for winning their zone, courtesy of the Member of Parliament, Kristen Lee. So we do the presentations in front of the banner, so forward. Is there a representative from Servite? The Servite would have been the group winner for Zone 3. They are not here today. Zone 2 winner would have been the Glen Prep. Asking the representative from the Glen Prep to make themselves available. And the Zone 1 winner would have been Runaway Bay Primary. Is anyone here from Runaway Bay? All right. So with that being said, we will now be making the awards to the 4th place team. But before I do, all schools that participated, you have been awarded a medal for your participation. So all your 16 schools, all 16 schools in the QBC 26 will be presented with medals. So, Mr. Thomas, the work will be on you. We'll distribute to the schools that are here. All right? So moving on to the fourth place. At this time, I'm going to ask Mrs. McLean to make presentation for the fourth place, which is B Glen Prep. $20,000 cash prize, $6,000 book voucher, and a day pass to the Puerto Rico Beach. Yes. The Christine can come. Right? So the $20,000 cash goes to the school, the $6,000 book voucher, and day pass to the coach. Thank you, and thank you, Mrs. McLean. This time I'm going to invite the Council for the Dry Harbor Division, Council of Arts and Critics, to make a presentation to the third place team, Sturge Primary. They'll be receiving $30,000 cash, $6,000 group voucher, and the last for the coach. All right, thank you, Mr. Show, and thank you, Councillor. At this time, to make the presentation to the second phase team, I'm going to invite our regional director, Ms. Carly Green, to make the presentation. The second phase team is covering primary and infant. $65 cash, courtesy of the Preparatory, and Crystal $10,000 book voucher, and gift passes for the coaches before the season beach. Thank you so much, Ms. Green. All right, thank you so much, Ms. Covering Primary and Infant. Congratulations. And at this time, I'll now invite the Member of Parliament, MP Crystal Lee, to come forward with the presentation to the Women's School, Bamboo Primary. Bamboo Primary will receive $100,000 courtesy of the Member of Parliament, 6 tablets from the Universal Service Fund for the participants and 2 for the coaches, and $15,000 book vouchers courtesy of the Member of Parliament. And might I just add, Bamboo Primary, their lowest score in this competition is only 37. They have scored the most in this competition, 49, 45, 39, 37, 37. We have not gone beyond the 37. Congratulations, Bamboo Primary. Yes, very consistent indeed. They're receiving their gift book vouchers valued at $15,000 courtesy each, courtesy of the Member of Parliament, and they are now receiving their tablets courtesy of the Universal Service Fund. So all team members receive their tablets and coaches likewise. So the smallest of them all, the man that leads from the front, the captain of the Bamboo Primary. Selecting the championship trophy. And now they're receiving their cash prize of a whopping $100,000, courtesy of the Member of Parliament, Mr. Lee.
Marissa, Miss Brady. No, wait. Just a photograph shiny one.
Thank you so much, schools and our sponsors. And it's time to bring this thing to a close. In fine style, we're going to invite Mr. Glen from the Bamboo Primary to bring the vote of thanks. And he is the captain of the Bamboo Primary School. Make him welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished participants, I'm honored to stand here to bring the vote of thanks for this wonderful occasion. I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude to the Member of Parliament and her whole sponsor, Miss Crystal Lee, to our General Director of Regional, Miss Caroline Sigrid, our Education Officer, Mr. Romain Thomas. To everyone who has contributed the success of the Northwest SDC Schools Quiz Competition, thank you for the initiative, for your presence, for your support and participation. You have been invaluable. To our organizers, speakers, and volunteers, thank you for your tireless efforts and dedication. And your hard work has made this event possible and memorable. Memorable. To our guests, thank you for taking the time to join us. Your engagement and enthusiasm and lively interactions have enriched our experience. To everyone involved, thank you for your contribution. Big or small, your collective efforts have made a significant impact. Once again, thank you for being a part of this special occasion. May the memories we have created here today stay with us for a long time. I thank you, and I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Weaver, the captain of the public primary school. I just want to acknowledge our partners one last time before we have our refreshment. Infomedia, the Cardiff Hotel and Spa, Bethany Primary School, Montecito Beach, Bahia Principal Hotel and Resort, Universal Service Fund, Member of Parliament Crystal Lee, the Ministry of Education, Skills and Information, Region 3, QEC 26, Brownstown High School, Woodlands Landscaping, Iron Dairies, and the Social Development Commission, building communities, building Jamaica. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the evening and all the best. Refreshments will be served at the back and the outside. All right?
Alright, so for all the participating schools here today, just another announcement. So we have another quiz competition coming up. I believe for all the participants today, we will have the environmental quiz by the Culture Change Foundation, which I'm a part of. And this will be in grand partnership again with the ministry. So Ms. Sibri and Mr. Thomas, we already started the discussion, and that competition will be in October. So the MP as well is a great, she's a big partner with that initiative. So that's an announcement. You'll be hearing more for the environmental quiz and expo that will be in October. So we should be sending out the letters before school is closed, and by the time you get back, we'll be convening the meeting. All right? So expect that one. So it's going to be very big. It's a partnership with the Victoria Cultural Bank. So that one, look out for it. So thank you everyone for coming out. We really appreciate the schools participating, and have yourself a wonderful rest of the day. And I hope